Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 216th edition of the TFS pod. We're back. I think we're about completely healthy now. The sick, injured list is -1 now. That's good. You're back to normal. And we've got playoff basketball, one-and-done basketball going on as we speak. We are 5 days away from a bracket, and we will do a full March Madness pod on Sunday night. Reaction, picks, first thoughts, all that fun stuff. But before that, we'll tackle everything that's happened in the last week. And a lot has happened. The Red Wings are just on a schneid. They're not going to make the playoffs. Most likely the Pistons are probably going to make the playoffs. That's cool. They haven't done that in a while. Michigan State hockey will play this weekend against Notre Dame in the semis of the Big Ten tournament. Big Ten tournament starts Friday for Michigan State. Got the fifth major, if you want to call it, in golf this week, and the players. So lots of fun stuff going on. Baseball, I think, starts in 2.5 weeks, Tigers' first game. So we are in a good time of year. And I know we're both going to do a dual podium on this one. I came up with a name for it. You know, they do the helmet shuffle at Michigan State. It's the helmet scuffle, brought to you by the arrogant asses at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to say this before I forget. There's a bunch of, I can't even say this straight face, WNBA players saying they will protest playing games if they don't get more pay. Oh, wow, I'm so sad.
That's up for the fan to decide.
Yeah, well, you want more money for 5 people to watch? Okay. Cool.
Supply and demand, ladies.
Sweet.
And gentlemen.
Helmet Scuffle, brought to you by AA, not Alcoholics Anonymous. Michigan State, we'll get to it later, but beats Michigan down, and Dusty May, Little Head, Crusty May, if you will, Fat 2P, Dum-Dum, as Mike Valenti called him, LJ Kaysen, have officially been indoctrinated into the arrogant asses cult, and will stay there for eternity.
The Dirty Douchers Club.
I wish I could say I'm surprised, but nothing Michigan does surprises me anymore. Just, they knew what was going on. There's videos, Dusty May. If you didn't see it, I don't know how you haven't, because it's been all over the news. If you watch college basketball, you follow it, you know what happened to Michigan freshmen that don't play a ton, were guarding, in air quotations, center court during a free throw when Michigan State's trying to do their kissing of the logo, which they've been doing since 2000.
In 1995 was the first time, my senior year.
Sean Respert. And
there's a reason for that. A little history lesson for those who don't know. It's because during my sophomore year, the Fab Five chumps, the cheaters and best, literally rubbed their asses on the S after they had an impressive, I will say, comeback win. They were down 10 and won 10 in overtime that night. Acted like complete and absolute fools. Not the first time, certainly not the last time in the rivalry. And because of the way they disrespected it a few years forward, Sean Respert carried that and kissed the S as no, this is our logo, this is our tradition, Yep. This is what it stands for.
Yeah. Crazy that it would even get to that point. And then Michigan guards the logo. A little Trey Holland and Jaden Akins politely asked them to move the F off so our guys could kiss the court and get off the court.
And the thing is they're right there in the middle when Frankie goes. And Frankie, being a 1-year guy, he's just like, oh, whatever, maybe this is normal. I'll just kind of go up here to the top. But I will tell you, Ryan can attest, my collection in the Michigan State Man Cave is the guys kissing the floor. I don't have everybody since the beginning of time, but I have all the key ones, all the Spartan greats, and I've got several. I probably have what, Ryan? We think like 20 in total. You don't ever see anybody else's feet in the picture unless it's one of those rare games when Michigan State loses on senior day, and they do it after the fact, and all the media is crowded around it. And that I'm thinking of Draymond Green in particular for that one.
Yeah.
So, Frankie goes and they're standing there, and you can clearly see it, and they're kind of thinking, oh, we're going to get away with it. And then I think Trey noticed, they didn't move when it was Zapala's turn. And he took umbrage to it, and he just took issue with it. And he's like, no, get the F out of the way. You just got your ass punked on national TV and got punked by Michigan State for the second time in a couple of weeks. Get out of the way and honor our tradition. And here's the thing is that I'm going to say, and I heard Valenti talk about this, and I've heard several other people talk about this. What if the shoe was on the other foot? What if Michigan State did that if they had a tradition on the M? All hell would have broken loose. Everybody'd be calling Michigan State thugs, blah, 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 blah. Dusty May doubled down on his idiocy by the stupid stuff that he said. He's clearly been indoctrinated. He's into what did Valenti call it, the douche club? I mean, totally disrespect the guy now. I had a lot of respect for him as a coach. I thought he could be like a beeline. His ignorance is bliss approach to the way that all went, just stupid. Here's the thing. If you don't want it to happen, then don't lose the game. If you win the game, Michigan State can't sub out, and Michigan State is forced to do that at the end of the game. But don't play this, I didn't know, we're not allowed to stay at half court, blah, blah, blah. First of all, some of his excuses. I didn't want another Cohen Carr run out. Cohen Carr hadn't even scored in the second half, let alone wasn't even in the game. You're down 17 points with 35 seconds to go. You don't have a 17-point play in your playbook. All game you've been pressing up with your guys, not putting them at half court. So all of your arguments are horse shit, as is Michigan. And here's my take on it. And Ryan, I'll let you continue to say your point too. I had to do this after the football game because of the pushing and the shoving and the altercation that Michigan started. As Mike Valenti said, and if you don't know who Mike Valenti is, I highly recommend you look him up. He's great. He's Italian. He's a New Yorker. He's very passionate. He's had some great takes over the years. Why is it always Michigan? Who rubbed their shit all over our locker room after a football game? Michigan. Who, as he said, landscaped Michigan State's midfield? Michigan. Who did this behavior? Michigan. Who funneled and caused the tunnel thing to happen? Michigan. Who started the thing after the game this year? Michigan. Now, look, I'm not going to say that Michigan State isn't chippy and chirpy and doesn't have their share of things that go on, but when it comes to the blatantly egregious things, it's always Michigan. You don't hear about Ohio State doing this. Ohio State had to defend their midfield logo, but you don't hear about them doing it at Michigan, minus 1973 when they didn't let Michigan touch the banner. And then a melee started. It's always Michigan. And Michigan fans are always like, oh yeah, little brother. You wonder why the F we hate you so much? This is why, because you are, as Ryan said, brought to you by arrogant asses. Now, all of them, no. I'm going to guess Tom, I'm going to guess David, I'm going to guess Alex even, and some others probably are like, come on guys, low blow, get the hell out of the way. Michigan State's not disrupting our senior day, don't disrupt theirs. But for these Walmart Wolverine fans to be making excuses for Dusty May, who now fits into that Walmart Wolverine category. Let me tell you this. I'm from Grand Rapids, and I realized that he won Mr. Basketball. I couldn't even tell you a thing about this fat. First of all, is that his real name?
Who knows? No, it's Darrell.
He clearly sucks because Michigan State has the worst, or Michigan has the worst, sorry, not Michigan State. Michigan has the worst guards, arguably, in the top half of the Big Ten. Maybe in total in the Big Ten.
Close.
And he couldn't even really crack the lineup.
No.
So he's so good. And you're telling me that you didn't put them out there to kind of send a message and whatever? It's Bush League. It's horse shit. It's uncalled for. There's no place for it. It's typical Michigan.
Let me add even more fuel to the fire. This was posted on Twitter 42 minutes ago by Justin Thin. He posted screenshots as Michigan's Fat Brooks and LJ Kazin have changed their Instagram profile pictures to when U of M's Kevin Gaines stood on Michigan State's logo in 2000. Wolverines got blown out that game by 51 points and Gaines transferred down after that year. Interesting legacy for them to find amusing.
Yeah,
losers.
114-63, and Sunday was on the way to that for a while until Michigan State was like, "Yeah, we're just going to toy with them the rest of the game."
Yeah,
It's just we shouldn't have to talk about this.
No, it's ridiculous.
I mean, you don't have to like it, Michigan players, coaches, fans, staff, whatever. You don't have to like it, but that's Michigan State's tradition. And again, if you don't want to be a party to the tradition, and don't give me this bullshit that, it takes too long. Kiss my ass. Like Holtman from Ohio State kind of complained about that a couple years ago. And I was corrected. I thought he was really mad about it, but he was just like, it kind of takes a long time. Let's go back into the legacy. Greg Gard allowed Michigan State to have a guy, Aaron Harris, come out on crutches to kiss the S after his senior year. His senior day was blown out because he had blown out, I believe, his knee. Brad Underwood went and shook Tum Tum's hand after he kissed the S. Like, the coaches know. So Dusty May, spare me this dumb game of I didn't know and we can't stand there and this sarcasm and this rudeness and this arrogance. Like, win. What is it, Ryan? Tell me. How many of the last 27 years Michigan has finished below Michigan State in the Big Ten?
25 of the last 27.
And
the 2 years were COVID and then 2014, which Michigan State and Michigan split that season. So
my word to you, Michigan, is GTFO. You want to do that kind of crap in football, it's still completely uncalled for, but you own it a little bit more. You sure as shit don't own it with Tom Izzo as Michigan State's head basketball coach. And it's just a Bush League move. It's just a Bush League move. And once again, you never own it. Here's the thing, is if you actually owned it for once, people would probably back off of you. But I think you thrive in being that. Just, I got shit under my fingernails. I'm just a dirty, idiot, pesky, bratty, arrogant, my daddy's a lawyer, I can do no wrong. Michigan typical. And you love it, and we hate it, and that's probably why you do it, and it's why we'll continue to be able to have this podcast for years, because I guarantee you some stupid, what's going to happen again. Yep.
All right. All awesome. Let's get to our tee-up of the week, and we could obviously tee this up, continue, but we're going to tee up the NCAA. I think we've done this one before, but it has to be reiterated, because it's probably the dumbest rule in all of sports. The NCAA in their transition period from schools that move from D3 or D2 up to D1, where they have to wait like 5 years to make the tournament. How does that make any sense? What advantage are you at if you're moving up a division? The only thing I can see it as is teams are like, I really want to be a D1 school, so I'm just going to transition. No, that doesn't usually happen. There has to be a process for them to be approved to be a D1 school, but once they're a D1 school, like St. Thomas, for example, when I was in college for 2 years, they were a Division III school, a powerhouse in football, basketball.
They actually got kicked out of D3.
They were too good.
Because they were too good.
And they got moved to the NCAA Division I, and they finished, runner-up in their conference tournament to Omaha. But if they had won, they wouldn't have had a chance to play in the tournament because they're still in their transition period. What is that? Why is there a transition period?
Yeah,
there's a bunch of schools like that are decent.
It's just stupid. It
makes no sense.
Why we're going to punish these schools for striving
you give guys
to move up
8 years of college for Lord knows what reason? It just makes no sense. Nothing the NCAA does makes sense, which we've said it all along.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to cease to exist within the next year or two. So
it's going to have
for Division I at least.
Yep.
All right, that is our tee up. And we get to spot one of Around the World. And spot one is presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years experience in sports sponsorship and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com. We head to the Links Golf. We had a signature event this weekend, the API, the Arnold Palmer Invitational at the Bay Hill Lodge. Just a phenomenal golf course, which we will have to play one time. I think it's pretty expensive, but I don't care. That place is
it's a bucket list item.
Beautiful. And it always lives up. It always has a good finish. Always has, a signature event. Obviously, it's going to bring out the big names, all that fun stuff. And we had an interesting tournament. Weather was pretty windy all weekend. The greens were a little baked out and quick. I think it was Thursday. The conditions were really tough. The course is playing tough. Wyndham Clark goes out and shoots a 67. Thinks he's in control a little bit, and then comes down to earth, and it's kind of a back and forth. Lowry had the lead for a second, and just back and forth. And then Colin Morikawa emerges on Saturday as the leader. Played really well, consistent. His ball striking has been just off the charts. He obviously lost this event, but I think he could win a major this year.
I don't know if he lost it as much as Henley
went out and got it. I mean, he chips in on 16 for Eagle.
Totally flipped the event and took the win out of Morikawa. He's a great putter,
and guess who picked him? I did. I finally got on the board with a winner. And you didn't do too bad yourself with Sepp. He got 5th. So good week for us. 1st and 5th. We both have picked a winner so far this year. That's awesome. And yeah, API it lives up to the billing. Corey Connors played well. Keegan Bradley goes out on Sunday and shoots a 64, 7 under on the front 9. Pretty phenomenal there. The captain, Michael Kim, he has had a quietly impressive 2025 campaign so far. I could see him winning an event or two this year. Straka continues. You picked him. He continues to be consistent, playing good golf. Lowry up there. He always plays well. Good to see Rose and Day with his weird outfits up there. I don't understand that. Scotty struggled a little bit. Still got tie for 11th. That's insane.
Yeah, he struggles and he finishes just outside the top 10.
He's such a good golfer. Guys that continue to struggle. Victor Hovland, he's been pretty off ever since he won the President's Cup. He won the FedEx Cup in 2023. Been a little off. Sahith Theegala, he's yet to hit his stride this year. Max Homa has been pretty terrible since he won or was a top 5 in the Masters last year. Cam Young he had that one really good campaign, and then ever since then he's been kind of quiet. But we will see what happens. Obviously, a lot of season left. We have a major in less than about a month in the Masters. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that. And somber news out of the PGA landscape today is Tiger had surgery, ruptured his Achilles. I'm guessing he's not going to play this year, which is sad. I feel bad because I wanted to see him in person at the U.S. Open in June. That's probably not going to happen. Maybe he'll be there, but not playing. I think he's done. I think he should be done.
I mean, he's barely able to.
His body's held together by duct tape. It's too bad because I think if he hadn't had that car crash, he could have probably won a couple more events and broken Sam Snead's record. Maybe wins another Masters or something. Mm-hmm. But I think he's officially toast.
Yep, I think so too.
Maybe he'll do a ceremonial,
Masters like you said, too many, like he's probably put so much pressure on that Achilles, compensating for knee and smashed up leg and smashed up back and surgically repaired this and surgically repaired that. And
they said it really was when he ramped up his working out. Yeah. So I'm guessing that was ready to go.
Right, yeah.
But tough way to do it for Tiger. We'll hopefully can come back, but not going to bank on it. But I just want to talk about Russell Henley real quick. I'm impressed with that guy. He's been quietly one of the more consistent guys on tour for the last few years, and he finally gets a big win. He hadn't really won much lately. He obviously performed well, but he's a guy that did really well in the President's Cup last year. I would not be surprised if he's on the Ryder Cup. He might just earn it on points alone. Really good putter, and he's very, just nonchalant. He's
steady.
Very much like Scheffler.
He pairs well with Scotty.
Yeah, he's not a high get too high, get too low guy. He's kind of a cold-blooded killer. That's good for the U.S. We need that. But a great event all in all in Orlando. We will be there at some point to play golf. And we come to the players, the 5th major, as I said earlier in this podcast. The best players in the world again at TPC at Sawgrass, the stadium course. Scotty Scheffler looking to three-peat. That would be just out of this world if he does that. I don't know what to expect. I think it's it's pretty rainy there this week from what I've heard. It could be soft. I think there's a lot of guys that can win this and compete. But I'm going to ride the hot hand. You've already picked him this year. I haven't picked him yet. Sepp. I think he's just he's a shoo-in for a top 15.
Yeah.
The way he's played. He's just been consistent. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to make birdies. He's not going to make too many big mistakes. And he's a good iron player. And that's what it's going to take to win.
Here's your weather for the weekend. Thursday, sunny, 77, winds in the mid-teens. Friday, mostly sunny, 78. Saturday, mostly sunny, 83, breezy. Sunday, chance of showers, then showers likely and possibly a thunderstorm after 2 p.m., partly sunny, 82, breezy. Remember a couple years ago, it was like freezing cold.
When Cam Smith won, it was really windy and cold. That's right.
Yeah, and they had some weather delays that year.
That was 2020.
I'm going to go with another guy who's actually been playing really well lately, flirting with the top. I don't like the way he dresses, but I like the way he plays. I'm going to go Jason Day.
Nice. Yeah.
Plus 6,500. I put my nickel on him today.
Nice. That's awesome. I wish I'd put money on Henley, because apparently at one point on Friday, like he was even. I think he was like plus 5,500.
Yeah.
Should have put a buck on him. It was $55, but you know.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, that's right. Any other golf? I'm excited for the Masters. I'm excited for all the majors this year. Looking forward to Quail Hollow, because not so much for the course, but for the guys that perform there. Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Jason Day's played well there in the past. Spieth, can he break through? Probably not, but there's a chance there. He has history playing well there. Lots of big names can play well there. And then U.S. Open will be there. Oakmont, which would be phenomenal, really hard course, and then Portrush for the Open. So looking forward to all that. We can move on to spot 2, and that's mailbag. Mitchapalooza is back. Chrisapalooza is back. Who wants to go first?
Let's go Mitchapalooza, since he wasn't on last week. I've got like 5 or so from Chris.
He's back. Pulling this up here, and Mitch he's got 4 for us this week. Who are some underclassmen that deserve to kiss the logo like Trey was able to? Bridges and Tillman come to mind. I would definitely say Tillman, from the career that he had, the career arc. I get, think of a Gary Harris or
JJ maybe.
Yeah, maybe Jackson. I'm not gonna say.
Bridges was definitely a good 2-year player.
MB, Shannon Brown, Mo Ager, they did not stay all 4.
No, here's the thing: is like that's a good question, Mitch. But I like and Trey was because he stood up for the guys, right? Like that's why he got to do it.
Yeah.
I like that you have to earn it as a senior. I mean, even for guys like Frankie Fiddler, or dating back to other transfers that we've had, 1 year guys. Who's the first one that comes to mind from Valpo? Remember him?
Brandon Wood.
Right, Brandon Wood. Like, I don't mind those guys, but like, I think part of the legacy is that you did it for 4 years. Like Sean Respert was redshirt, and then so he was a 5-year player. So I kind of like that underclassmen camp. But to your question, yeah, I mean, Zach Randolph, here's another one that.
Yeah.
Jason Richardson.
I was too young for that.
Jace Richardson. Plenty of guys like that were pretty special for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Question 2, he had his Russell Henley is a dark horse Ryder Cup guy. Would we prefer him in form over a more notable guy trying to find it, i.e. Ricky and JT last Ryder Cup? I already touched on it. I think he's going to make it up points, and if he didn't, I would pick him because of his level-headedness. And
yeah, I mean, I think, like, does he give you fire per se? No, but I think you can get that from other guys, and I think look, trying to match the intensity of Europe, like that's just their thing, right? Like, so the U.S. just has to pick the right guys and the right yin and yang type of guys. I think he'd be a great fit for the team.
Yeah, I do too. Number 3, who is more likely to make a Final Four, Illinois or Maryland? I'm going to say Illinois because I think they have more depth. And they're on fire. Maryland's on fire right now too, but Illinois' depth and their size at every position, I think, does it. But Maryland's obviously a really good team too. I could see both, but I'll say Illinois.
I mean, Illinois can switch out all 5 positions, like in terms of guarding. My biggest struggle with Illinois is they just don't really play
Inconsistent.
together as a team. I watched it, more recently against their game against Purdue. They came back in that game, but like they just struggle to do things together. And I think together wins. I think Maryland can probably do that better, but Illinois, based on depth and overall talent alone, I think if I had to pick between those two, I would say Illinois. Although I think Maryland is better coached.
Oh, yeah. Willard's a solid coach. And last but certainly not least, if I told you tomorrow you would get Zapala and Fiddler's production out of transfers for next season, would you take it or let the offseason play out? Personally, I'd let it play out. I think I'd let it play out as well because from what I've heard, pretty high on McCullough, and especially with him stretching the floor a little bit. And then Cam Ward, if you do not know who that is, look him up. He'll be a freshman next year. He's 6'7", 6'8", wing, can play 3 and 4. Not a great shooter. Dude is a junkyard dog. Brandon Dawson type.
But we need a shooter.
Malik Hall type guy. And then Jordan Scott coming in as a shooter. He's 6'7", still growing.
Gotta have a shooter. Go out in the portal and
good
get a
3-level
shooter.
scorer.
Go out in the portal and get a shooter.
If Michigan State had a knockdown shooter, they would probably be the best team in the country.
But I'm okay with riding with McCullough, with Coop, the way that he's come
guys.
along. And then Kohler certainly is just going to continue to get better. I'm totally fine with that. I think Coop and Kohler are the two better ones out of the three with Zapala anyway. So I think you're going to even out there. Fiddler gave you his moments. I still think he's going to be a key player for Michigan State in March. But you got to get a guy who is truly a shooter. He's good at getting to the free throw line, or was earlier in the season. But you need a knockdown 3-point shooter. That's where Michigan State's been lacking right now. Like a Bryn Forbes type or whatever. You got to get a guy that can come in and just go stone cold.
Yep.
Those are Mitch's questions?
Yep.
All right. Sticking in the basketball realm, Chris says, does Booker hang in there or transfer at the end of the year?
Gone, without a doubt. You can see in his body language. He didn't want to be there.
Yeah, I mean,
He's gone.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he's gone. I'm not 100% certain he's gone, just because I know how this has gone with him.
His parents are pretty disciplined, so maybe that helps.
He hasn't played much lately. I think it just depends on, can mom and dad and he sit down with Izzo and figure out, like, what is it going to take for me to break through? And does he have the motor to do it? And if he says, I just don't have the wherewithal, or I don't want to, like, by all accounts, he's a great teammate and he loves being a part of the team. And he's not been a powder or a whiner or whatever. It's hard to see that on the bench necessarily when you look at him, but I think there's a chance that he stays, and I think that chance that he stays is that he gets convinced that he's only really going to truly get better and reach his potential playing for Izzo. Because if he leaves, he's not going to another Big Ten program. He's going to like a Butler
Notre
or
Dame.
a Creighton or somebody like that. A decent program, a good D1 program, but not a blue blood.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Who is your and Ryan's favorite player on this year's Hoops team?
Jace, without a doubt.
Yeah, I said that from day one that Jace is my favorite player.
You can play.
He is a, what do they call it in baseball, a five tools guy?
Yeah, he's an OKG.
He's a glue guy. He's a scorer. He's a takeover guy. He can take it to the rim. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can hit the big three. He can dunk. He can make passes. Like, he just truly is a bona fide superstar. He's unlike, honestly, I mean, Bridges was pretty dang special as a freshman too, but like, I don't know. I look at some of the Michigan State's most highly touted recruits over the years, and he has been, to me, the most solid all-around player that we've had as a true freshman. I really, truly believe that.
To earn that leash that he has, that doesn't grow on trees from Tom Izzo.
I will say that I ride him because he's up and down, with his offense. 1 minute he can't hit the broadside of the barn, the next minute he hits 3 threes in a minute. But I will say that the energy that Trey has and the leadership and his sneaky, quick footwork and step through on defense is phenomenal. I really like Trey Holloman too.
Yeah, he's definitely another junkyard dog, OKG type of player from Michigan State.
Speaking of Jace, any chance Jace stays for another year?
No, he's gone.
See, here's where I'll differ. He's not a guy that needs to leave for money.
But that's not. He's top 10 pick.
He's a top 10 pick, but Dad can also give him a little bit of a flavor for what the NBA was like. Dad stayed 2 years at Michigan State. It would not surprise me if he comes back for one more year. I think he's legit having fun. I see him in a lot of TikTok videos with Cohen Carr in particular. I think if he sees a chance for Michigan State to do something special again next year, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back. I'm counting on him leaving. I'll put it that way. I'm hoping like hell he comes back, but I do think there's a chance. I think it's probably 25% chance, but I do think that there's a chance that he comes back. All right. We all know how close the Spartan Hoops program is, even if you've transferred. We got guys like Chris Allen that have come back and plenty of those guys that have come back. What do you think AJ is thinking about this year's team and the success they've had without him?
He's thinking about the last joint he smoked.
Yeah, I was going to say, I personally think he's too baked and looking
cares.
for his Doritos and his Scooby snacks. I really don't think that he cares. I think if he cared, he would have cared when he was there, and he wouldn't have been just a cancer to the team, to be honest with you. Do these guys maybe sometimes think about it or whatever? I'm sure at some point in time they do, but AJ never struck me as the type that gave two shits about Michigan State.
No,
I saw him baked out of his mind Saturday after Saturday walking by our tailgate. You saw it on the floor. You saw it the way he played. You saw it with his lack of leadership. I really don't think he cared.
No.
And Vanderbilt's got a chance at the tournament this year too, so he's got his own thing going. Finally from Chris, I believe college hoops is the only level that plays halves. Should they change to quarters to align with every other level?
No, I don't think so. I think they're fine.
I know Jay Billis is a big proponent because he's like, then you could reset the fouls at the end of after a quarter back to 5 or whatever they use.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see them both. I like the halves thing.
I think halves is unique.
I think
it's something special about college basketball. I think there's too many timeouts. I will agree with you on that, but I don't know that. What's the difference? 2 10-minute quarters or a 20-minute half? I mean,
right.
You're still going to, if a guy gets 3 fouls in the first 10 minutes, he's not going to play in the next 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's quarters or halves.
Right.
So, yeah. So, no, I don't think they should. I think that's part of what makes it different, and it's kind of something I like.
I would agree. All right, that is spot number 2 in mailbag. We move on to spot 3, but before that, a word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty. They will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com. College basketball has been a staple of spot 3 for months. We're going to continue that. We're going to do a little different with some awards. We had the All Big Ten teams come out, awards today. All that fun stuff. So we're going to go through ours. We can compare and contrast, I guess. First, what they did on the coaching and media. So let's, without further ado, let's hit it with our All Big Ten first team. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go ahead and go first.
Braden Smith, John Tange, Nick Martinelli. I think he carried Northwestern without a doubt. Trey Kaufman-Renn, and then last minute change, I'll go Bryce Williams for Nebraska, because without him, they probably would have won 2 games this season.
Yeah, he was a heck of a scorer.
I could have put Wolf in there. But
my only difference was, this probably be an eye opener for some people. I had Jace Richardson. I truly look across the landscape, and while he only started the last basically half of the season, he was a huge performer for Michigan State before he was a starter. And honestly, you kind of look at like, okay, who are the best players? It's not necessarily best players in the best team. You can't tell me that you can't, not that you can't tell me, because you can argue, certainly there's lots of guys that were good players, but in my mind, you can't argue with me that Jace Richardson is not one of the top 5 players in the Big Ten. I just think that he is. I mean, no arguments necessarily with Martinelli. I had Braden Smith, I had John Tange, I had Kaufman-Renn, I had Bryce Williams as well. And honestly, you could swap out. In my mind, Bryce Williams is probably the weakest. Not because he's a weak player himself, but like most of those other guys are playing for high quality teams too. And I think high quality teams means guys are getting it done against better competition, or they're getting it done in winning time. Not that you have to be, you could be a great player on a horrible team and be the best player in the league. But that's kind of how I looked at it a little bit. And for me, for my money, Jace Richardson is one of the top 5 players in the Big Ten. I just believe that.
Player of the year, I guess. I'm going Braden Smith.
Braden Smith.
Phenomenal season. Probably will end.
Here's a guy who's like primarily a D2 recruit, and you watch him and the way he controls the game. Player. He's going to probably smash Cassius's assist record. He can score. He can set his teammates up. He rebounds. He defends. He just does all the dirty work. He's a phenomenal basketball player, and he's the best. He's the best. He's the best.
Yeah, definitely. All freshman team. I got Derek Queen, Jace Richardson, Kaspers Yakachonis, Dylan Harper. This one may surprise. I'm going to go John Mobley from Ohio State.
Oh, nice. Good pick.
Just a different guy. And guy you'd be surprised I left off. I see him on your list. That's Ace Bailey. I'd say he's the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I struggled to put him on there. Honestly, I put him on there because I have Jace on the All Big Ten team. Because I had Queen as well, which I believe in one of the polls, Queen made the All Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yakakonis, really Will Riley, I have on there. I don't think you had him. Another special type of player.
He's 6th man of the year.
Dylan Harper, I think, was way better than Ace Bailey. I just kind of started to scratch my head a little bit about, who were really, truly high impact freshmen.
There weren't a ton of great freshmen in the league this year.
I think Mobley is a good one. He could have easily picked over Bailey, or if I didn't have Richardson.
I think Bailey's
Richardson would have been over Ace.
I think Bailey is Amani Bates 2.0.
Yeah,
I really do.
He really is. Harper's a nice player, but I would agree with that.
Yeah, Harper's really good. Bailey is too disinterested for my liking most of the time. And my freshman year is Derek Queen. I think Jace made it close, but I'll go Queen. He was all year. Double machine. Even though he's like 45 years old.
Yeah, and I'll give it to Queen just because I got Richardson on All Big Ten team. But I think both those two are by far and away the best players.
Yep.
Most consistent players.
Defensive Player of the Year. It was won by Ace Baldwin, which is BS. They just wanted to have him repeat. I think it should have been Jaden Higgins. I picked
Jaden Higgins,
well.
100%. I think that's probably
the best wing night in, night out. He steals. He's in position all the time. Like, he did it all.
I think it's one of the reasons, honestly, why his offense might have struggled a little bit, because he was so sold out to play great defense and in a sacrifice for the team. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for it, because people look at Jaden Akins, including my friend group, and go, he doesn't do shit because he's not making shots, because you think of him as needing to score. But look, he still was Michigan State's leading scorer, but he was our lockdown defender. He was our lockdown defender, and that's part of what Michigan State hangs its hat on. Akins, like you said, Ryan, going up against the best wing or the best 2-guard night in and night out, and locked him up.
Yeah, did a good job of it. Then we've got Coach of the Year.
That's a no-brainer.
Then the Dean, who won it, Tom Izzo.
He won the Big Ten by 3 games.
It's the 4th time he's ever won this award. That's crazy.
Probably because they always go, it's too obvious.
Yeah, he just a resurrection, if you will,
of himself, really.
Of himself, just a remodel, refurbishing. A lot of R words there, but Tom with a phenomenal. We said it. We thought they'd be 6, 7 seed. They're going to be a top 2 seed in the tournament. Won the Big Ten by 3 games. 17-3 overall, 26-5. Shit, man, that's crazy. I did not think that would happen. And if you told me that, I would have
something very the antithesis of Izzo, a team with 10 deep.
Yeah, a deep team.
He is always a 7.5 guy. 7.5, 8 players in the rotation guy, and he did it with 10, and he did it well. And it's a huge strength of Michigan State's going down the stretch. It's kept them fresh game after game after game.
Doug Wojcik actually won Assistant Coach of the Year, so that's cool. Good to see that.
Yep.
So those are the awards. And then I'd like to congratulate you. You won for the first time the Big Ten starting five.
Hey, look at that. Blind
get you
squirrel
next
finds a
year.
nut once in a while.
Yeah, or bites your truck
Yeah.
once in a while. That's college basketball. We'll touch on tournament stuff in the fifth spot. And we'll get to state of state here really quickly. Hockey haven't played since we last spoke. Hopefully they can win the Big Ten.
Last time we played, we swept Notre Dame, and we played Notre Dame again in the semis. Notre Dame took 2 out of 3 from Minnesota. I don't know if that's because Minnesota tanked, knowing that they were going to be in the tournament. I don't really know their motives, or if Notre Dame just played well. I didn't see any of the games, but surprise there. And then Penn State took out Michigan, so Penn State, Ohio State in the other semifinal. Penn State's been playing really hot hockey down the gates too, so will be interesting. Good chance for Michigan State to win the Big Ten tournament in hockey as well. Obviously, in basketball, we've got the number 1 seed coming up, play the winner of Oregon, Indiana. Last week, since we last were on the pod, the Iowa game looked like it was going to be that stumble game. Little chippy white boy gets in Trey Holloman's face with a kind of a cheap foul. Holloman, if you're not very good at reading lips, said something like, I'm not going to repeat it for the podcast.
Called him a little...
you just... So that's a classic. It's a new meme. And from that point, Michigan State went on a 31-6 run. They just exploded. Like, they went from playing probably one of their worst games.
You know what I'd equate that to? You remember a couple years ago, we were playing at Nebraska toward the end of the season. We were losing, couldn't make anything in the second half. We shot like 80%.
Yeah.
It was very similar to that.
Yeah, similar type of thing. And it's just like Michigan, that showed you how, now Iowa's not a very good team, but it showed you that Michigan State can turn it on when it wants to. Carr with several of his 6-point play dunks. Holloman made big plays. Akins
Fears made big plays.
Fears made good plays. Like Kohler, another big game from him in that game. So, that kind of, like, that was Michigan State's chance to clinch the title outright. And then some people thought, against Michigan, they're not going to care as much. BS. No way that was going to be the case.
Special day.
Absolutely destroyed Michigan.
It was a banner day, if you will.
And 50-28 at the half, could have easily been 52-26 at the half. And if Michigan State not really kind of sleepwalked and sent it in for a while, give Michigan credit. They fought hard. Their big guys fought hard, but their guards suck. They made it, a 12-point game at one point in time. It felt like it was going to get close maybe. And Michigan's just not very good. Let's be honest. They won 14 games with a negative point differential.
Guard play is going to be the death of them.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, maybe they'll win a game because tough guard with Vlad and Wolf. But Michigan's a 3-headed monster of Golden, Wolf, and Burnett is half of a monster.
Play of the game is when Michigan had a little bit of a run, Richardson gets tripped by the ref, sprains his ankle or rolls his ankle, gets up limping, and cans a wide open 3.
Awesome.
That was amazing. And I can't even imagine, Carr didn't even have a dunk in that game. Imagine if he would have had a crazy dunk.
Yeah, that would have been wild.
Oh my gosh, the place. I will say, because I've criticized them over the last few years on the podcast, the Izzone was vintage Izzone this year. We experienced it in the Oregon game. You could experience it and feel it through the TV. It was the first time in years I haven't felt like this spoiled, this entitled feeling from them. And I honestly, probably looking back, it's because of the head of the snake, which was AJ. It was just the vibe of the team. In that team gave Izzo that vibe too, because if you go back before, in Cassius's year and the COVID year or whatever, that team, that had the groove, right? That Izzone had the groove. This year, it was back to it. Coach Izzo was back to it. So fun to watch. Michigan State just comes at you in waves. They have the depth. They've got guys that are playing 7, 8, 9 minutes at a minimum. Most of them are playing over 10. Most of them are getting 5 points a game at least. You got Akins, who started to wake up a little bit the last couple games. He can certainly get hot. Richardson is a really good scorer. Holloman can get hot. He can be ice cold too, but he can get hot. Fears is starting to get a little bit more decisive. Zapata was dropped off a little bit, but Kohler has stepped up in his place. Cooper, I think, has stepped up in his place. One thing I'll say, last week, Michigan State's roll game wasn't as on point with those kind of high oops to Cooper or whatever. I think teams figured that out a little bit. But you know what? Big Ten tournament calls. I think, I was talking about this with my buddies yesterday or today on text. I personally love it if we keep winning and we win it, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if we don't. I definitely want to win a game just to kind of keep a little bit of that mojo going. It would be great to win it again, but we won the Big Ten regular season. We won it by 3 games. That's what matters most to me. I've said that on the podcast already in the past couple of weeks. The rest of it is gravy. I really don't think. Michigan State's going to have some chips fall and win the Big Ten tournament to get a number 1 seed. There is a big difference. I don't know if we were talking about this, Ryan, or if it was me and Chris were talking back and forth. Like, the instances of 1 seeds winning the tournament are way more than the instances of 2 seeds winning the tournament since the mid-'80s. That's for sure. But that's all just statistics and whatever it is anyway. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into that. So
yep. All right, that's state of state. Let's get to our 5th and final spot of bracketology, the last one before we find out on Sunday who's playing who, where they're going, all that fun stuff. All right, what we've been doing, I can give you my top 16 Big Ten teams, where I think they're going to go, and then we can just discuss teams that have already punched a ticket. Top 16, replaced, flip-flop 1 and 2. I got the Duke Blue Devils, number 1 overall.
Auburn struggled a little bit last week.
Struggled last week, 2. Houston 3. I got Florida at 4. Alabama at 5. Tennessee 6. Michigan State 7. St. John's moved up to a 2 as an 8. Texas Tech 9. Kentucky 10. Iowa State 11. Texas A&M 12. I've bumped Wisconsin down 2 lines, really. I had them as the last 2 of them as the first 4 now. Terrible loss to Penn State. They're not playing as well right now. So I have them as number 1 4, then Purdue. And another Big Ten team in Maryland, then Clemson is rounding out the 16 there. Big Ten, I got Michigan State as a 2 seed. I really do think that's where they're going to fall. Obviously, just said Wisconsin, Maryland, Purdue as 4s. I think Michigan's going to be a 5. Could see them as a 6 if they just play terrible in their Big Ten tournament game. But I think they're pretty much locked as a 5. 6, I would say Oregon and UCLA both. Wouldn't want to play either of them. I have Illinois as an 8. I think they would be very, very dangerous 8. Would not want to play them either. And then I've got Indiana's 11. I had them as a play-in a few weeks ago. I have them off the play-in. Then I have Ohio State as a play-in. I think they win. 1 win gets them in. Because you have to put teams in. There's the bubble. Excuse me, is not good. It's weak. There's just teams that keep losing, and you got to put 68 in. That's why you should not expand.
Exactly.
Stupid teams would get in. But I got Ohio State and Nebraska. No way.
Unless they win the tournament.
only other way, yeah.
Oh, they can't even win the tournament.
The only way that the other teams get in is by winning the Big Ten tournament, and I don't see that happening.
No,
I don't. Out of teams that have to win, 5 games in 5 days? That's not going to happen.
No, not going to happen. One last look at the 40-22 rule. We've got some changes in there, not really at the top. Duke stayed 1 overall, 2 offense, 4 defense. Auburn, number 2, number 1 offense, number 14 defense. Their defense is slipping a little bit. Houston, number 3 overall. Their offense is slipping a little bit. Number 10, but their defense is moving up. Number 2. Florida, number 4 overall, 3 on offense moving up, 10 on defense moving down. Tennessee, 5th, 22 on offense, number 1 on defense. Their offense is improving a little bit. Michigan State's offense improving, number 8 in Ken Palm, 28th on offense, 5th on defense. Iowa State has moved up to 10th. Their offense is slipping a little bit, 29th, but their defense moving up 6th. Maryland is in there at 13th, 34th on offense, so kind of on the cusp, but 9th in improving on defense. Clemson, Louisville, and UCLA are new to the fray. Clemson with the 18th ranked offense and sliding, 21st ranked defense, so barely in, but their defense is improving. Louisville, 30th ranked offense and improving, 18th ranked defense and improving, and UCLA, 37th ranked offense and 15th ranked defense, both improving, kind of not making the cut. Dropped out since last week. Arizona, still within shooting distance, maybe. St. Mary's kind of the same. They're losing by 4 right now to Gonzaga in the WCC championship game. Ole Miss, Bama obviously has been right up there all year in the top 10. Great offense. Defense is a little bit to be desired. Big win last week, though, at the buzzer at Auburn in overtime. Texas Tech, they're right there, too. Their offense and defense are both improving, and then Marquette dropped out, and they're kind of on the cusp as well. So, it's going to be a pretty wide-open tournament, I think. I look back at my stuff from last year, and I looked at all kinds of metrics last year when I broke down my brackets. I did seed, KenPom, their offense, their defense, their strength of schedule, their out of conference, their luck rating, their net rating, their temperature. I don't know if I'll have enough time to do all that stuff on Sunday night, but I try to use that for some of my betting and whatever. And at the end of the day, it all just kind of becomes a little bit of a crapshoot. I really legit think there's probably, anybody technically can win it, but I think there's probably solidly 8 teams that you're going to see the majority of the winners be coming from.
Yep, I would agree with that. Teams that punt their tickets so far, we got Lipscomb and the A-Sun, sneaky little team. High Point dancing for the first time out of the Big South. UNC Wilmington clinched the Coastal tonight. The Seahawks. Robert Morris won the Horizon League tonight, going dancing for the first time in a few years. Drake won the Missouri Valley. Very impressive team. Would definitely say that they're Cinderella to be, possibly. St. Francis, PA, they won tonight, losing record in all. They won the NEC. OVC, another first-time dancer. SIU, Edwardsville. That's awesome. Wofford, 6th seed in the SoCon, beat Furman yesterday to win it. Then we also have Omaha, first-time dancing, Summit League champions, the Mavericks, and then we've got the Troy Trojans.
Here's your matchup: Michigan State, Omaha, Frankie Fiddler's
Michigan State,
team.
Omaha. I can see Michigan State, Omaha, Michigan State, Troy for Spartans and Trojans.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different matchups that they could throw at Michigan State. Robert Morris, they've already played them before. High Point, I would not want to play High Point or Lipscomb. They're kind of sneaky. And more tickets to be punched. You touched on St. Mary's. Gonzaga is going on right now, so we'll have our 10th ticket tonight, and then many more as the week go on. Cannot wait to see what happens. It should be very exciting. All right, let's finish as we always do with a sprint. Who is your going into the postseason? Who's your Wooden Award winner?
Oh man, I haven't even thought about that from a national perspective. It's got to be
Flag.
You think Flag? I think it's Broom from Auburn.
National Coach of the Year.
Izzo.
I'll say Shire.
Too obvious.
Most improved Big Ten team this season.
Most improved Big Ten team. That's a good question. I mean, it's hard to argue against Michigan, honestly, record-wise.
Yeah.
They won single-digit games last year, right?
A 14-game change.
Yeah, so, I mean, it'd be hard to argue against them. I mean, honestly, Michigan State, in a lot of ways, one of the most improved teams. I think, Wisconsin's always up there, so it's kind of hard to say them, but, like, their changeover on offense has been their transformation has been pretty fun to watch, too. So, I guess if I had to pick, I'd say probably the most improved team, though, is Michigan. I'm
not going to give Michigan any flowers. I'm going to go Maryland.
Oh, that's a good call too.
Year.
That's a good call too.
Best in honor of March Madness. What's the best March Madness snack? And I close my eyes and I picture coming home from elementary school and you having your work friends over, watching basketball in the basement. Wings from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, good one. I have not eaten in years, but like Doritos, nacho Doritos and salsa just hits it for me, or homemade French onion dip mix. I'm going to ask you a fifth, long and back. Who wins the Big Ten tournament?
I'm going to go I'm going to go UCLA. First timer.
Yeah. I'm going to go with, I really honestly would not be surprised to see Michigan State win it, but I'm going to go with Wisconsin.
Could see it. I could see really any of the top 6-7 teams doing it.
Except for Michigan.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, meantime, as the now on the CFP committee and Spartan great Coach D once said, I find a lot of the things they do amusing. They need to check themselves sometimes. I'll throw in all the frickin' time. Let's just remember, pride comes before the fall.